Dave Naylor joins us from TSN now. He's covering NFL. He's covering CFL. He covers it all. David, welcome back to the program. Can I open this up with this? On the cusp of the CFL playoffs, would you be willing to make a Grey Cup prediction right now here today, or would you prefer to stay away from that?
Yeah, I mean, I have one. I kind of have a feeling about Winnipeg and Toronto and a Winnipeg Grey Cup victory.
Ooh. What makes you say that?
I think both those teams have a lot of momentum coming in. I mean, when you look at a team's record over the course of the season, I'd be interested to check this. You know, the more meaningful thing to me is how have they played down the back half of the season. And I've said all along, I thought the Argonauts were kind of sleeping in the weeds, right? First half of the season, they win with defense and special teams. Second half, mostly inconsistent on offense, but that started to evolve over the last month. So if they can get some defensive and, Whit McManus is back, if they can get some defensive and special teams performances that are reminiscent of the first half of the season with a fully rounded offense, now that Chad Kelly's had the time to acclimate himself back into the game, they can win it. I think they'll be highly motivated if they beat. I think, again, based on the way Ottawa's played down the stretch, I think Toronto will win this weekend at home. I think they'll go to Montreal highly, highly, highly motivated to avenge what happened a year ago. And I cannot imagine the Winnipeg Blue Bombers going to 3 straight Grey Cups and losing them all.
Okay, well thought out. By the way, Colin from Ottawa writes in, he says, there was a CFL-specific show on Ottawa's TSN 1200 radio? I guess I'll have to tune in. Yeah, I was on it last night. You were on it recently with AJ. It's Monday nights at 6 p.m. on TSN 1200 Absolutely. Ottawa. Don't come at us. Yes. It was a lot of fun chatting CFL with AJ. And last night, we spent a lot of time on the commissioner story, Dave. Yeah, he's the best. There will be a new commissioner in 2025. Are you shelving that talk till after the Grey Cup, or are you diving headfirst into it?
Well, we're going to dive into it, but I don't know how deep the pond is going to be. In my conversation recently with Scott Banda, the chair of the board, there's no timetable, there's no priorities, there's no format. I think what's going to be happening at Grey Cup week is formulating all of that. So if we are diving into it, we're going to be reporting on process, I think. They're not going to be interviewing candidates in Vancouver. I think we're probably, months and months away from a new CFL commissioner. And of course, the league has no real pressure on this because Randy Ambrosie is going to stay on. So they've got somebody manning the wheel or holding the wheel, if you will. And I think they understand that one of the things that allows them is the opportunity to really think about what they want in their next commissioner and how they want to recruit that next commissioner. So, yeah, I think we'll be talking about it and speculating about it. But in terms of actual reporting, I think most of it's going to be just kind of administrative stuff. Here's how it's going to happen. Here's maybe our timelines, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, with lots to play out.
Sure. So let's shelve that talk a little bit, I guess, for a few months because the playoffs are at hand, as I say.
Yeah.
How big a deal is it? Bit of a rhetorical question, David, but for the Vancouver Grey Cup to have the BC Lions in it, let's get real. It's a pretty big deal.
I always hope that it's not, that a Grey Cup isn't hanging on a home team being in it. And I know there's a dramatic effect. If the Lions aren't in it, you're going to have, the ticket market will certainly come down. And if people are planning on going to the Grey Cup and trying to get a ticket, you're probably cheering against the Lions this weekend. But, from everything I understand about what's gone on in this Grey Cup, the planning, all of it, I think, we've seen lots of successful Grey Cups without home teams in it. And again, if your business model is, we got to get 1 out of 5 teams in this game or we're going to have a problem, and I don't think you have much of a business model. So I'm not hanging on that. I know in 2000, I'm trying to think when the last time I was there. Was it 2011? I think it was 2011, right? No, wait, I'm missing
2014.
2014. So of course, 2014. Yes, of course. Yeah, I was. That was the Hamilton Calgary one with the flag on the Brandon Banks return. That was a great Grey Cup week. Fabulous game, fabulous whole entire time when the BC Lions weren't there. Of course, the one previous is the one I was thinking of where they were there, and that was a great event as well. So, but I'd like to think, and I don't know for certain, but I'd like to think that the success of a Grey Cup doesn't rely on a home team.
But I don't want to be misunderstood. You and I have both been to a lot of Grey Cups. It's better when the home team's there. I'm not saying it'll flop if they're not, but
no. And look,
yeah, go ahead.
I think that to your point a bit, Rod. I think Amar Doman is really bent on broadening the market. Right? There's a reason they played Touchdown Pacific this year. I think this Grey Cup is not only the goal for it to be a great Grey Cup, but I think it's probably what he sees as an event upon which you can build the Lions fan base, beyond Greater Vancouver and within Greater Vancouver. And that absolutely becomes a lot more doable if you've got an iconic moment that everybody in British Columbia can lean into that involves the Lions, in the game, or even better, on the stage at the end of the game holding up the Grey Cup. So I appreciate what you're saying.
Best Grey Cups I've ever... Yeah. Best Grey Cups have been in Regina. Look who you're talking to. But right up there's Vancouver. I love the Vancouver Grey Cups. So as have you. I can tell by their smiling. They're all good. You were choosing between chocolate and strawberry ice cream. You know what I mean? They're all good. But let me ask you this. What are the Saskatchewan Roughriders going to get as an opponent on Saturday with the Vernon Adams-led BC Lions coming in there?
It is so hard to know because the Lions down the second half have been, the most enigmatic team in the CFL. And in a year where there's been a lot of enigmatic play, to be honest, and trying to figure out what teams are going to show up. It's so strange. You've got, Ottawa that was 8-3-1 and nearly goes into the playoffs on a 6-game losing streak. You have the Bombers who start 0-4 and then nearly run the table off the back half of the schedule. You've got Montreal that wasn't any great shakes down the back half and was fantastic on the front end. And the BC Lions kind of like that. But the difference is with the Lions, you throw in the quarterback change. And it's not a quarterback change precipitated by injury. It's won by coach's decision. And look, the last time we saw Vernon Adams, he looked like Vernon Adams from the first 6 games of the season. And that gives you the possibility that could be a shootout. Now, the Riders have a really good defense, and it won't be easy to play that way against them. And the last time they walked into Mosaic, we all know what happened. So that to me, all the factors when you break down this game, just what version of the BC Lions shows up on Saturday to me is the biggest question going into this one.
Can't wait. We're kind of almost out of time, but I'm just interested in what you were doing in Cincinnati. What can you tell me, David? What were you doing in Cincy?
I was in Cincinnati at the first meeting of Chase and Sidney Brown. And as kids, they dreamed about the fact that they would one day play on a National Football League field together. Didn't know if it would be on the same team or on opposite sides. It turned out it was on opposite sides. Chase, the safety with the Philadelphia Eagles. Chase, the running back with the Cincinnati Bengals. Sidney, the safety with the Philadelphia Eagles. They had a little meeting during the warm-up pregame. They did a jersey swap after the game, which was really cool to be out there on the field and see that happening. And then I got to just quickly, I'll tell you a little story. Just outside the stadium, Paycor Stadium in Cincinnati, they were there gathered around all of their friends and family who had come from London, where they're from, and other parts of Canada to celebrate with them. Their high school coaches were there. Their host family that they lived with when they went to high school in Florida were there. It was really just a beautiful moment. And the Philadelphia Eagles bus is parked just kind of adjacent to where they all are. And all of a sudden, I see Nick Sirianni, the Eagles coach, come off the bus, and he's coming directly at where the Browns and their contingent are standing. And he sees Rachel Brown, their mother, and he says, "Rachel, you raised them right. It was good job. You raised them right," he said to her. And then he got back on the bus. And I'm sure, they got to meet Chase during the draft process. They know Sidney intimately well from having him on their team. And I'm sure they've learned more about the relationship and the story of the boys. It was just a really cool moment. Not one for show, not one for the cameras, just one that I witnessed. And having spent a lot of time around those two players, through the end of their college careers at Illinois and the draft process, and now in the NFL, it was really gratifying, to see their mother recognized for what her two sons are, who are, only in year number 2 in the National Football League. I think are both set up to very solid NFL careers.
Awesome. Great story. Dave, thanks for the time, man. Hope to see you at Grey Cup.
My pleasure. Always good to join you, Rob. Thanks.